starts now.
It's time to move on to Plan C. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Two more Senate Republican no's have scuttled the revised plan to replace Obamacare. Now what? Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will now push for a vote to repeal Obamacare, with a replacement to come later. Republican Senator James Lankford discussed a path forward over dinner with President Trump last night.
There'll be a focus to say, okay, what can be eliminated from this that people would say, we'll put that on the next bill, but we've got to be able to repeal as much as possible.
Republicans passed a repeal plan in 2015, but it was vetoed by President Obama. It's unclear when Leader McConnell plans to take action on a repeal bill. Dave.
Now, Rachel, President Trump has tweeted just moments ago, as I have always said, let Obamacare fail and then come together and do a great health care plan. He also wrote, we were let down by all of the Democrats and a few Republicans. Most Republicans were loyal, terrific, and worked really hard. An Australian family still seeking answers to why their loved one was shot and killed by police Saturday night in Minneapolis.
This is a very difficult time for the Ruszczyk family. They are trying to come to terms with this tragedy.
Justine Ruszczyk, who was already going by her fiancé's last name, Damon, before their wedding next month, was killed while she stood outside a police car after calling 911 to report a possible sexual assault she'd heard outside. The officer's body cameras were not turned on at the time. The man charged with murdering four men found buried on his Pennsylvania farm claims they were not his first victims. Fox's Tanya J. Powers on the case live.
Cosmo DiNardo reportedly told investigators he killed two people in Philadelphia when he was 15. District Attorney Matt Weintraub's office isn't talking about the New York Times report, but a spokesperson does say homicide detectives are aware of DiNardo's claim. They're trying to determine if there's a link between DiNardo and any unsolved cases, but have no details at this point, Dave.
This is Fox News. Fair and balanced.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Think you can't manage the down payment it takes to purchase a new home? Think again. You could move into a $150,000 home with as little as $1,500 down with our 1% down payment option. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.19%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Another drowning death in New Jersey. A 12-year-old girl who was pulled from the surf off Sandy Hook has died. She was with family when she got into trouble in the ocean around 6 Sunday night. There have been no fewer than 10 children that have drowned in the last month. And we have what you need to know to keep your kids safe on our website. Senate Majority Leader McConnell, facing defeat on his Obamacare replacement, says he will push the Senate to pass a clean repeal bill. The announcement came a few hours after two Republican senators dealt a fatal blow to the replacement bill unveiled just last Thursday. Although nearly 3/5 of Americans told Monmouth University pollsters last year's meeting between President Trump's campaign advisors and a Russian lawyer was not appropriate, the president's job approval rating really hasn't changed since May. Pollster Patrick Murray says 39% approve, 52% disapprove.
So despite all the recent revelations about his son and son-in-law meeting with a Russian lawyer, the numbers just really aren't moving all that much.
Funeral services will be held next Monday for the 11-year-old girl killed in Keansburg. Abigail Smith, reported missing from her mother's apartment, found the next day in a container behind the building. An upstairs neighbor has been charged. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
The rip current risk along the Jersey Shore bumps up to moderate today. We'll see around 80 degrees at the beaches today. Upper 80s further inland with partly to mostly sunny skies. A chance for a pop-up thunderstorm from late this afternoon into this evening. Partly cloudy tonight and pretty muggy. Lows only fall to the lower 70s. Mostly sunny tomorrow. We'll be near 90 away from the coast. And again, an isolated thunderstorm can't be ruled out. Quite hot and quite humid on Thursday. Highs lower 90s with sun and clouds. We'll lose some of the humidity, but we stay hot for Friday, too. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Thank you very much. Chuck Malamut is here. This is our weekly program all about financial matters, and we've been doing this now for 26 years. Chuck Malamut is the 26th-year official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. Chuck is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office, 609-383-2010, for all of your financial planning needs. And this program is presented by Chuck, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck. They do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck Malamut, after such a dynamic hour from Roger Federer to the Fed chair to blood types of presidents, how can we even continue?
Good morning, Harry. Kirk, I see you're still here, obviously.
Well, he just wants to just back up Loretta from earlier in the week.
I thought he would actually.
Because Loretta has your number, Chuck.
I know that. We'll get Harry's. Okay. First of all, thank you for defending me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And
I really appreciate Loretta having my back.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah.
But seriously,
loyalty means everything.
I did hear this morning about Margie's cookies,
oatmeal raisin cookies.
So now, Kirk, I'm thinking that if Nancy's listening, we're probably up to about 20 to 22 because every week we had another.
So now Margie,
so when
Margie
she makes
has to make you some too, just because you say, right?
No, it'd be nice if somebody came to the table here and.
So in other words, you're throwing out two requests.
Well,
if it's a good finance man, he throws out two options, and if one comes through, he gets cookies.
You know, if you don't
like
ask,
right?
Harry, if you don't ask,
you don't get
the order. So I'm going to leave that up to you two gentlemen to be able to.
I firmly and sincerely believe that you deserve at least a handful of oatmeal raisin cookies. I believe that. I think
so. That's 3, 4.
Well, you have big hands.
Actually, okay. So
could be 10 in each hand.
So now we've negotiated. Instead of negotiating up, we're negotiating down.
No, I think if you had 10 in each hand, that'd be 20.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you can carry that message to your wife, Kirk, and Harry to Margie, that'd be actually wonderful. But like I said, if you don't ask, you don't get. And thank you again, Harry, for in fact spending a fair amount of the time in the 6 o'clock hour. I think it was maybe Thursday, if I recollect. I think that as I listened, there's a lot that goes on in the studio that a lot of your listeners are not aware of.
Even during breaks, and you come out of breaks, and it comes out with you. I do want to say, for anybody that's listening right now, and I want to thank Loretta because she's a great guest listener. She's fabulous, wonderfully supportive of me. And Loretta had the impression, this is why perception versus reality, had the perception that Chuck was unkind to me last Tuesday. He was making fun of me, and he was rude to me, and these observations. And I had to explain to Loretta how far back Chuck and I go, and that it's brothers just ribbing each other. And but I want to thank Loretta for her fierce loyalty, Chuck, because that's what that all stemmed from.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was like
I could have thrown you under the bus.
Two dogs in a fight, and she obviously went to the one dog and just let me get eaten alive.
The big dog.
So, but that's okay. There's absolutely
Kirk is dying at that line. He can't take it.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So we all have thick skin, and as a result of that, we learn from our shortcomings, and hopefully. I learned a lesson. Yes, Harry, I know.
I gotta laugh. Kirk and I are dying in here right now because all of a sudden I stood away from my mic and I point at my Roger Federer logo, and Chuck didn't skip a beat. He kept going, but he shook his head like, yeah, I see. It was fantastic.
Isn't that a sign of a true professional?
Yes, exactly.
So think about how we've all matured over the last 20 plus years.
26
in this. Yeah, see, I could get my own logo, Kirk. Thank you. But why don't we move on? We had enough fun, I think, so far this morning, so we can kind of.
But Chuck, I do, on a serious note, I want to send a shout out to Loretta, because in total, her call was awesome. It really was. And think about this. It enabled me to say a huge volume of things, really wonderful things, positive things, and really great qualities about you.
Yes, Harry, I was a little late for work, as I was so busy listening and waiting for the next comment to roll on either side. And thank you again for it.
It was great. Thank you, Chuck. Thanks for everything. Market update.
So, Harry, it's pretty interesting. I mean, you and Kirk spent a fair amount of time at the end of the show, last segment, about the economy, and a fair amount of time about politics. But here's what's happening. I find it pretty remarkable, for the most part, that investors continue, for the most part, they're ignoring all that uncertainty that's coming out of Washington, and the market continues to focus on the positives. As Kirk hit it right on about comments made last week by Fed Reserve Chairman Janet Yellen, obviously very, very dovish in their tone, and the fact is that on a go-forward basis, there's a lot of debt to buy back or to retire, and unless we do initiate these tax cuts, I think it's going to be very, very challenging, for the economy to grow. Stock prices, Harry, for the most part, rose last week. Most of the major indices hit new highs. So think about it from this perspective. S&P, Dow Jones, NASDAQ up anywhere from 1 to 2.5%. Year to date, up anywhere from 11 to 18. So if we were to close the books right now, I think a lot of investors would be very, very happy, especially if they owned equities. Now, Conversely, on the flip side, as we know, fixed income really hasn't done much of anything other than to produce the coupon. There's been virtually no appreciation in some areas of fixed income. They're actually, prices have moved backwards. But if you look at equities or stocks, technology, led the way. Energy, materials also performed very, very well. Worst performing sector, in last week happened to be telecommunications, and financials happened to get back some of their gains. Now, I know that we're not allowed to talk about individual stocks, but I found it very, very interesting that Jamie Dimon, the chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase,
that was shocking,
took 4 minutes out of their conference call and went on a rant about Washington.
I was very surprised.
I can't stand here, Harry, and comment to your listeners what my thoughts are with respect to the stock price, because we can't, we can't make those kinds of recommendations. But in life, I think if you kind of go full circle, think about it. If you were to make those statements, in what you do day in and day out, I'm not quite certain. I think that might be a little detrimental.
Yes. I thought it was terrible. I was shocked by it,
and,
actually.
I completely understand the frustration, because, we deal with it on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes you're better off, using a different forum to express, your particular concerns.
Chuck, let's get our first break in. We're going to come right back, and I'm going to go into the break by telling a little story that the only sad part about this story is that Chuck doesn't remember it. However, it went exactly as I have told it in the past and exactly as I'm going to tell it now. A very astute listener wrote in that Loretta would not like the ugly tie story, and I knew immediately what that meant. This is the truth. Only Chuck doesn't remember it, and I believe, Chuck, that he doesn't remember it. but that doesn't make it not true. It happened just as I'm saying. I walk into Chuck's office one day, and I have the most handsome red paisley tie you've ever seen. I was a trendsetter. I was ahead of my time. A close family member had a clothing business in Hong Kong, made suits, ties, everything. So I had a whole shipment of paisley ties before they were even popular. Nobody was wearing them. Had a suit, actually, that was paisley, red paisley on the inside. Gorgeous. It would be gorgeous today. It had my name in it and everything stitched in. I don't even get a word out. Chuck says out loud, audibly, "Harry, that's the ugliest tie I've ever seen." I said, "Chuck, this is from Hong Kong. This is you don't know it yet. This is a fashion statement." So Chuck is just giving it to me. It's the ugliest tie I've ever seen. He goes, "I don't want to talk about it anymore." And then we talked business. Within a year, I walk into Chuck's office. He has the identical tie on. I said, "Chuck, that's the ugliest tie I've ever seen in my life." And I never talked to Chuck like that. This guy was scary back then. And he goes, "What do you mean? This is a nice tie." I said, "Don't you remember?" I said, "I have the same tie. You said it's the ugliest tie, and now you're wearing it." True story. We'll be back. He's Chuck. I'm Harry. This is WPG.
Why buy a Lexus from Lexus of Atlantic City? For over 25 years, they've taken as much pride in their customer service as they do in their vehicles. They offer a huge selection of new and pre-owned cars, SUVs, and crossovers, and provide elite customer service with world-class amenities. Buying a luxury car is never intimidating at Lexus of Atlantic City. It's luxury at the right price. Visit them at 3169 Fire Road in Egg Harbor Township or LexusofAtlanticCity.com.
Your vehicle is one of the biggest investments you will ever make. At Ed's Auto Service on Foster Avenue in Vineland, they strive to maintain your vehicle in the shortest amount of time for the best price without sacrificing quality. It is a philosophy that has worked for over 65 years. Ed's Auto wants to keep your family safe on the road. Get your vehicle inspected with Ed's Family Tune-Up and Inspection for just $29.95. Call Ed's Auto Service at 856-691-6034 or visit edsofvineland.com.
Outdoor season is here, and Sea Gear Marine Supply and Sea Gear Marine Outfitters in Cape May has all of your outdoor supplies. For pro and recreational boaters, Sea Gear Marine Supply has quality outdoor clothes and accessories. For recreational boaters and sportsmen, Sea Gear Outfitters has the best selection of pistols and rifles. Tank refills, rentals, and scuba gear can be found at their full-service dive shop. For over 35 years, it's Sea Gear Marine Supply at 1144 Route 109 and Sea Gear Marine Outfitters at 795 Route 109 in Cape May.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and only barely making minimum payments, know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt, and they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
We're back. It's Hurley in the Morning with Chuck Malamut, our official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program in our 26th year together here on Tuesday mornings in the 8 o'clock hour. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs.
So Harry, I know I can't comment on the ugly tie since it was multiple years ago.
You were saying multiple generations ago. But here's the deal, though.
But you do have a very stylish shirt on today.
Thank you, Chuck. And that tie was so handsome, and you wore it within like a year.
I could tell you a tie story. Your listeners would absolutely fall off their chairs, and I think for the sake of all your listeners, I'm not going to tell that story right now in a public forum. But We'll save that for another day, okay? But so I know that you spent a few minutes and chatted about U.S. monetary policy. As we look at what is happening, U.S. monetary policy should remain stock market friendly, Harry. As Yellen stated last week, the neutral rate for Fed funds is currently quite low. That's what she stated, and rates would not have to rise much more to become neutral. So, a neutral Fed funds rate is closer to 2% versus the currently 3% implied by the futures market. So if that's accurate, Harry, it should be good news for economic growth, corporate earnings in the stock market. Good. And you think about it, it seems as if almost every day, and I think your quote the other day was every 5 days the market. I mean, it doesn't happen consistently like that, but that's the number of new highs that we've made in the equity markets
have averaged every 5 days.
So now,
you've never seen that in your career, have you?
Harry, I have not seen a market with that has been extended for as long as it has. And the fact is, most strategists and analysts, including the Morgan Stanley strategists, are making predictions on the S&P 500 anywhere from 2,700 to 3,000.
Chuck, something I was going to ask you in the last hour was, do you, and I know you don't sweat any one day to day, but because the Senate Majority Leader has announced that the healthcare thing is basically dead, the new strategy is to sort of collect themselves again and try just a repeal vote and then have 2 years to then replace Obamacare. Do you think the markets will care much about this today?
I think the markets are, Harry, they're really more focused on tax reform.
But that's good, though. But if you get this done, then tax reform is next.
Well, and the key is, you only have, and Harry, you're much better at this than I am. I think September 30th is the date of what they call reconciliation.
Yes.
And you only can do that twice a year, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So, they're up against the clock here a little bit because you not only with healthcare but also tax reform.
And they'll once again have all the pressure that they can't govern. There's a lot of moments of truth that are that are facing, and then we'll be in a midterm election year.
And Harry, I think the fact of the matter is, and I'm not going to sit here and bash government. I think you do a pretty good job at that all by yourself.
Thank you.
But you look at where we are in the economy. I mean, it's the third longest on record. It's been over 8 years. Personal income, consumer spending, household assets, net worth, they're all at record highs. Stock markets are at record highs. Corporate profits are within striking distance of all-time highs. Federal tax receipts are also record highs. So how is it possible, Harry, that the federal budget, along with some state and local budgets, of which one state that we happen to live in, still look like they're in the middle of a nasty recession? Why is that?
Perception.
Perception?
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you. I mean, government fiscal management, it's out of control.
It's totally out of control.
I mean, the politicians, spend all this time fretting about Amazon's purchase of Whole Foods.
Right.
And they won't stop bashing the banks. They've lost their ability to deal with their own fiscal reality. So the federal government is projected to run a nearly $700 billion deficit this year. And long-term forecasts suggest trillion-dollar deficits as far as we can see. Illinois, city of Chicago, I mean, the deficits are just, they're chronic. Where we live, New Jersey and New York, or Illinois, I mean, they're fiscal basket cases. So, you think about, why things don't get done. And it's just mind-boggling that
I think it's because
we tolerate it.
We tolerate it, and it's, if you look at the return of incumbents, it's at the highest level in the history of the Republic at one of the worst times in certain respects in terms of politics, and they are all about winning the next election. So they're not about fixing the problems. Incidentally, We're going to go to break in just a couple of minutes. I want to feather something in, if Chuck wouldn't mind, and I'll come back to this in the final 10 minutes after Chuck's program. But impeccable sources have just revealed to me, and I can't tell you my source, but if you knew my source, you would feel comfortable saying what I'm about to say, and that is that the FBI is currently rounding up people. The first wave has begun of something that we've been telling you about for more than a year, and that is a federal investigation into certain public employees in multiple jurisdictions, multiple cities, with respect to healthcare matters, prescriptions, and some other issues. So that is unfolding as we speak. Breaking news, early in the morning exclusive. Chuck, back to you.
So Harry, if I'll end my rant on government, I think I've said enough, and it would be nice if we could run this country like you can run a business, but we just seem as if we can't get it done. And how Network, I think, was the movie that we oftentimes refer to.
Exactly.
Where who was it that opened up the window?
Mr. Beale.
And the comment was,
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to
take it anymore. So I think that maybe we as citizens should sort of step up. And I'm not quite certain.
Don't you think that that's what people felt they did on November 8th of 2016?
That was, yeah. I mean, that was sort of the storyline. And what has happened is, we're now sort of stuck in quicksand. And, corporate earnings, they're continuing to roll through. I mean, this morning, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Johnson & Johnson, I mean, they're starting to come. And again, what we're seeing is that earnings are beating forecasts for the most part. Ever so often there's sort of an outlier where that doesn't happen, but it's being done in spite of what's happening or not happening out of Washington, and it's being done in an economy that is really not growing at that. We need to be at 3%, and we're just not there.
Chuck, we'll take our halftime break. We're going to be back. One more power segment with Chuck straight ahead. If you go to my Facebook page, I've written my first 40 or so words about what is unfolding right now, literally, as we speak, involving the FBI. We'll be back. Much more. Your Financial Matters with Chuck Malamut continues. And a reminder, for all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck and the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office for all of your financial planning needs. That's everything. College building, retirement planning, everything. Vacation planning, education planning. 609-383-2010.
For this month's prizes in the 1450 Club, WPG Talk Radio 104.1 decided to let our interns pick what we should give away. So we gave them Harry Hurley's credit card and told them to buy some fun stuff. And they didn't disappoint. Up for grabs this month, a Sony PlayStation 4, a Nintendo Switch, and even an inflatable hot tub. For your chance to win, get social with us through the 1450 Club at WPGTalkRadio.com.
Here at Town Square Media, we're not your average radio group. From web design to e-commerce to social media and the latest in mobile technology, we employ an arsenal of services to help our clients build their businesses. But we can't do it without a dedicated sales staff. We're experiencing record growth, and we're looking for seasoned sales professionals with drive and determination to help us grow even more. We offer an excellent base salary with high commission rates, an unlimited earning potential, and full benefits. Plus, we offer major market experience without the major market commute. At Town Square Media, you'll get the opportunity to make a real difference to thousands of local businesses, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way. If you're an experienced salesperson with a proven track record of success, then Town Square Media might have an opportunity for you. To learn more about outside sales opportunities, contact Mike Rubel, Market Manager, at 609-645-9797. That's 609-645-9797. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer. 609-645-9797.
I'm Trina Webster.
And I'm Dan Webster, founders of Z Quiet. Let me be honest, I snored.
Yeah, he did.
crazy loud.
And I was forced to sleep on the couch most nights.
Dan tried everything, including surgery, to solve his snoring problem.
Nothing worked.
So he turned to experts and created a solution that's a total game changer, a mouthpiece called Z-Quiet.
Not just any mouthpiece, one that gently opens the airway where the snoring happens. In fact, it's based on the same technology as treatments costing thousands of dollars.
It allows natural jaw movement so you can talk, breathe normally, and best of all, sleep comfortably without making a sound.
And what's really cool is that it couldn't be easier. Just pop it in before you go to sleep to kick snoring out of bed.
So you can sleep quiet
with Z-Quiet.
Z-Quiet fits both men and women. Try it risk-free for 30 days for just $9.95. Go to getzquiet.com or text MOVE to 91011. Go to getzquiet.com or text MOVE to 91011.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the mayor of the morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thanks very much. He is the great one. We are visiting with Chuck Malamut, as we do every Tuesday morning in the 8 o'clock hour, all about your financial matters. A reminder for all of your financial planning needs. Don't do as I say, do as I do. Turn to the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. Have we gone into global monetary policy yet, Chuck?
We're going to do that right now, Harry, actually. So, global monetary policy is starting to normalize. We talked about Brexit. We talked about, everything that happens outside the U.S. and you always, use the U.S. as sort of a benchmark. And what is happening now that global monetary policy is starting to normalize, and that still supports stocks. So you think about it, the Bank of China last week raised rates by 25 basis points. Other central banks are becoming a little less dovish. We think that actually is good news because it reflects the fact, Harry, that we're seeing improving global economic growth, while overall policy still remains relatively easy. Central banks are promoting liquidity, which should support equities and other risk assets as well. So you have U.S. monetary policy assisting. You have global monetary policy assisting. A lot of investors fret over the fact that they're buying equities at all-time highs. I think that if you really look sort of the underlying parts of the market, there is still value out there, and you need to oftentimes maybe remember the old contrarian theory.
Yep.
When things are not particularly working, at this point in time, maybe a year from now, they will reverse themselves and look a lot better than they currently are. So, and again, that just gets back to the fact that your listeners as investors should pay close attention to what they own, understand clearly why they own it, and have a plan as to other than the fact that, hey, I own XYZ because my friend told me to buy it. You really need to understand what you own and why you own those particular securities. You and Kirk spent some time chatting about inflation, and
by the way, could I ask you? I want to go back because I want to confess something. When I said about perception, I was listening to Chuck with one ear because I was breaking this story about what the FBI is doing right now. I thought Chuck was talking about why people feel the way they do about something, and I misheard what he said. That's when Chuck disagreed. No, it's not a perception. It's what they're not doing. I said, well, I totally agree with that. So just so that people are like, whoa, where's Harry at today? Where's his head out? That's what was going on then. But right before that, I was breaking the story on my Facebook page and then said the quick announcement on air and mishearing what Chuck said, just to give you an idea of how I multitask and sometimes not very well. Kirk wrote me a text and he said that because I missed it, it was part of my one ear because I was focused on this horrible story. Did you say that 2% GDP would be like the new normal? Is that what you said?
No, I said it's going to be a stretch to get to 3.
Okay, because Kirk thinks you said 2% is our new normal GDP. I didn't think you would have said that because Kirk is saying 3% is our normal.
No, we need to be at 3.
Yes.
And if I don't think I said Kirk, and if I did,
either,
I certainly apologize.
Because I misheard the other, I wanted to clear that up as well. So anyhow, back to you.
But so inflation, you think about it, it remains, stubbornly low at this point in time. Economic growth's improving. The Fed is normalizing. You and Kirk's talked about, reduction of the balance sheet or, selling the bonds, so to speak. Inflation has not really increased, Harry. So inflation eventually reacts to a tighter labor market. But the process is taking, I think, a longer time than all of us had anticipated. Because one of the things that we have chatted about in the past is, you have your unemployment rate, very, very low. You have more people back in the market looking for jobs. Every so often, wage growth shows up, but it's not. We would, I guess, Harry, we would have expected wage growth to run in concert, wages growth in concert with the rest of the economy, and that's just not happening right now. So there is a little bit of slack in the labor market. So there's nothing wrong with inflation if it's controlled. And
controlled inflation actually will increase wages. It will increase COLAs. Won't it do all that?
It will. Yeah, absolutely. I think I read Social Security is going to go up $28, per
Whereas
person.
people had a number of years with no increase.
No increase. So if you look at the environment that we're in, it's oftentimes referred to as the Goldilocks environment, not too hot, not too cold. We think equities can continue to move onward in a positive direction. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to be up and away. What I'm very, very surprised about, and this is something that all of us need to pay a lot of attention to. Unless we have some kind of a shock, like again back to what geopolitical risk. We think that volatility is going to remain relatively low throughout the rest of the summer. And think about this, Harry, for a minute. Second quarter earnings are rolling through. You have a dysfunctional government. And the stock market just continues, to make these all-time highs. It's remarkable.
Riddle me this. 3% is the historic level of the Fed funds rate. This is what Kirk was talking about. Is Chuck agreeing with Yellen that 2% is the new normal?
I think what's going to happen is,
I don't agree with that.
The neutral Fed fund rates is closer to 2 than 3. And the 3 is currently implied by the Fed fund futures market. I agree with you guys that 3 is really the number. But if that statement that I just made, Harry, is accurate, and let's say we are at 2. Then that's going to, help economic growth. It's going to, help corporate earnings, and it's going to ultimately help the stock market. We have had multiple rate increases, in the last year. We are looking at there's a discussion September, discussion December, discussion of multiple rate increases. But I think a lot of that is, based on where the economy goes. But you think about it, this Goldilocks, environment we're in, low inflation, slow but positive economic growth, increased earnings, a cautious Fed, all of that has contributed to record high equity prices. And, we think, Harry, that these conditions, unless there is some sort of economic shock out there, should remain in place, for the next 6 to 12 months. So, there's a lot going on that is not being disseminated out to the general public. And I think it's that old discussion, Harry, of perception versus reality. And I think 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to have a pretty good handle on where second quarter, what we end up doing in the second quarter and projecting where we're going to go in the third quarter. And all indications are that should do relatively well.
So then that speaks well for equities.
It should speak well for equities. Yeah. Now, one of the I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. There's been always this ongoing discussion active versus passive management. Passive management is when you buy an index, the S&P 500, MSCI EFA, et cetera, mid cap, small cap, versus hiring a portfolio manager. And believe it or not, right now, according to my old employer, 54% of active large cap U.S. growth equity managers, those are managers that buy the Microsofts, the Apples of the world, the Exxon Mobils, 54% of active managers outperformed their benchmark for the first half of this year. More than half also outperformed for the last 4 months. So that's the longest streak that we've seen since this data has been tracked starting in 2009.
It's very positive.
And it's the first time a majority of managers outperform for the first half of the year. So, you constantly have that argument.
And by the way, Chuck, I don't want to take away from talent, but part of why this number is higher than it's ever been, and they're 54% or whatever it was that you said are outperforming, is because we're in good times right now.
Well, no, I think part of it, Harry, is if you buy an index, however the index trades is what how you're going to perform, positive, negative, neutral. The role of the manager, the active manager, is to outperform in up and down markets.
I got you.
And for many years, it seemed as if passive continued to beat active.
Time out a second. You know what? Sometimes things are counterintuitive. I'm thinking that you're in a can't miss. It's like it's like when the basketball hoop seems like it's bigger than a swimming pool, and you're just throwing it in there when somebody is just on a roll, or when a golfer is in the zone, or Federer on the tennis court. It's probably harder to outperform now than it is in a bad market where you have more room to overperform, right?
Well,
you see what I mean by that?
The manager they have to accomplish two things. One, outperform in not only good but bad markets.
Yeah.
So in a market where you're losing, going backwards, the manager's role is to lose less than the index. Conversely, on the flip side, in a positive market with the S&P up 11, you need to be at 12 or 13. So
that's why I'm saying it's probably harder to do that. When something is doing this well, it's harder to overperform versus a good market than it might be.
Yeah, so you look at U.S. large cap, and the S&P 500, much like any index, is market capitalization weighted. So your larger companies, your Apples, your Microsofts, your Intels, your Exxon Mobils, your J.P. Morgans, they drive a larger percentage of the S&P 500. So what the manager's responsibilities is to own, for instance, less of company X and more of company Y in an effort to be able to perform in excess of the benchmark. I mean, that's basically what you're paying for. And the strategy that we've employed for many years, Harry, is that you never know who's going to be right. Is it going to be active or is it going to be passive? So when we build portfolios for our clients and prospective clients, we own both, and that has served our clients very, very well, because it'd be easy for me to say, Harry, in 6 months from now, active managers are going to outperform passive. Well, I would be foolish to make that statement, but we do need to hedge our bets a little bit at the same time, because if we can't create alpha or performance in excess of benchmark, then why are you hiring that particular firm or financial advisor?
Fair comment. Where does a healthy job market factor into all this?
Well, look, so we're 4.4, I think, is the unemployment number right now. So
and over 220,000 jobs when 170,000 was the forecast. So that's always
we're obviously in a healthy job market, and we're looking at more people that are looking to get back to work.
Which actually could increase the unemployment
rate. It's going to. Well, you think about it. It's basic math, the numerator and denominator.
And then what we have to do as honest brokers is say that looks negative, but it really is a positive, because if more people feel encouraged that they can get a job, then don't get afraid that 4.3 became 4.4. It's actually a positive.
Absolutely. So, a healthy job market is obviously great for the economy. Is very, very good news for the for the equity markets as well. So, sort of on a go-forward basis, is one of the things we chatted about. We think that earnings are going to be one of the major focuses as the Fed shifts their monetary policy. The Fed and other central banks are going to gradually increase rates. I think that that is no surprise. But policymakers have made it very, very clear, Harry, that they're going to err on the side of caution. And the moves that they make will continue to be data dependent. So inflation has not picked up noticeably. That has put less pressure on central banks to tighten aggressively. So slow but gradual increases in rates will put upward pressure on bond yields, but should not derail the equity bull market that we lived through for 8+ years. So. On balance, we expect economic and earnings growth to remain decent, which should be enough to provide that tailwind for equity prices. So I think your listeners, your investors will be very, very pleased as we march through the last 6 months of this year. And, again, I'm going to put, sort of a disclaimer on that. Because, Harry, the one thing you don't know is what you don't. I don't want to sound stupid. It's what you don't know.
That's right.
And I always go to bed at night thinking about what I don't know, and wake up in the morning, hoping that what I don't know did not materialize. If that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense, and it doesn't sound silly. And we know that something is going. We don't know what it is, but we know that things are going to occur that we have no idea right now what they are.
Yeah, and let me leave your listeners on something I think is really remarkable. You oftentimes talk about credit scores and FICO scores, on your various shows.
Yeah.
So the average FICO score in the U.S. just hit an all-time high.
I saw that.
700. Those FICO scores are used to determine, who qualifies for loans and what particular rate they're going to receive. But we have not seen this for a very, very long time. So that's obviously very, very good news, for where we are in the economy right now.
Well, what's good about that, obviously, if you're looking to buy a car, if you're looking to buy a mortgage, anything that you're looking to do, you're going to get an improved rate. And a 700 is not a 720 and above for absolute preferred or premium, but it's still very, very good.
Absolutely. So what your listeners, consumers need to be aware of, Harry. I know you've chatted about this in the past. With respect to FICO scores. What helps is obviously avoid the late payments. We're all aware of that, and we're not saying anything we don't know. Consumers can, as they don't max out their credit cards, and obviously they got to monitor their credit reports. It's very, very simple. Most credit card companies right now provide you with a free update.
Yep. Chuck, let me give an example. And you're familiar with my credit score because you're my guy, and I have a high credit score. I made a purchase, and it just so happened that the item that I used to make the purchase wound up being 90% maxed out. It was not going to stay that way, but when the statement cut off and the creditor reported, I was at 90+%. And once you're at 90+%, you're called maxed out. And my credit score went down 12 points. And I have a near perfect credit score. It went down 12 points for that one issue. The good news was I paid it. And then by the time they reported 30 days later, I got the 12 points back.
Oftentimes what consumers think and what they should do are two different things. So, if your credit card is due on the 20th of the month, and you're at the you made a large purchase, you're at the 5th day of the month, you still have a fair amount of spread between the availability and what you have used. Put a payment out there. Yeah. Make a partial payment.
Yep.
For that, if you can, for that large purchase.
Keep it under.
But Harry, the other thing is that the Federal Trade Commission estimates that 20% of consumers have some sort of error that can affect their score. So, and again, it's like anything else. If you're not an advocate, for your financial health, if you're not an advocate, with your physician, you're going to get lost. So you need to really pay attention, to those parts of your lives.
Without a doubt.
And I think there's too many. We get so busy, we say, okay, we'll take care of it later, and the later never happens.
And on the credit score, I think a lot of people don't realize how crucial it is to make sure that you keep your credit score as high as you can, because you're going to need it. And a lot of decisions are, affected. I don't think it's fair, because I think your driver's record should be the reason, but your insurance, auto insurance, goes up if you have a low credit
Absolutely.
score.
So and the credit reports are not terribly confusing. It's like anything else. I mean, the first time you see it, you get overwhelmed with it. But then if you really spend, I don't think it takes it doesn't take a lot of time.
And you can learn a lot about it.
And
how it works.
between the credit report and what's out there on the internet, I mean, you can become a credit score expert in a relatively short period of time. And I oftentimes get kidded by my family because, Harry, every day, as a matter of course, I check. Virtually we use a card, two cards, but one card in particular. I check that card, and I check the bank statement, the bank account, because as you know, it's just so easy with all the fraudsters out there. They have fraudulent charges and funds missing.
And that's why I don't even wait for the statement, Chuck. I'll check it on my phone, on the app. And you can see everything from a pending transaction to any transaction.
I oftentimes get teased by my other family members because I'll ask, "Did you make a particular purchase for XYZ for whatever the amount was?" And they say, "Okay, what are you, stalking me now?" I said, "No, I'm not stalking you. I just want to find out if this is a legitimate charge or not." And sometimes you will get a charge or two that is erroneous.
Correct.
So anyway, Harry, I think I overstayed my welcome here.
Not at all. Not at all. You're always welcome.
I know that you're working on multiple things. I do appreciate, again, I don't want to sound redundant here, but look, we've been doing this together a long time. I certainly appreciate your friendship. I mean, we're sort of like brothers from a different mother.
Correct.
Sort of.
And the word sort of.
And we are brothers.
Unless you tell me something I didn't know.
No,
just kidding.
Brother, can't be from the same mother. So that's not happening.
No, I bet out of the sort of.
I understand. So, but I mean, I can't tell you how happy I was to hear you. I guess it was very early on a Thursday morning.
My full-throated defense.
Yeah, and so that does mean a lot, because we've been doing this together. We've been together for 40. Is it 40? Yeah,
yes.
almost 40 years now. So through thick and thin, good times, bad times. I just want to thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Chuck, I feel the same to you. Thank you.
You have a good rest of your week, Harry.
You too, my man. Our official financial advisor, Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley. For all of your financial planning needs, call 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Open forum to end the hour. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to get in. And wide open forum for the entire 9 o'clock hour. So plenty of time to cover the breaking story that we shared. Again, I'll only be able to share with you what I know, and some things that I've been told over the course of many, many months that are embargoed I can't get into. But I'm happy to share with you anything that I know. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If it's one I can't answer, I'll be honest with you and say I can't answer that, and here's why, or anything else in open forum that you want to chat about. The time is yours when we come back in just a few minutes.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Deborah Heart and Lung Center. For innovative care, demand Deborah.
While it might sound like a new line dance, kombucha is just a fermented tea. It's made by adding healthy bacteria and yeast to sugar and black or green tea. The fermented fizzy tea has been around for centuries, but recently became popular in the U.S. People say kombucha helps with digestion, sleep, weight loss, and detox. They say it stimulates the immune system, stops hair loss, and improves liver function. Pretty lofty stuff for one little drink, yet there are really no studies to either support or contradict these claims. Experts warn of stomach upset and possible unhealthy bacteria. While pasteurized kombucha has less risk of contamination, it also reduces the positive effects of the probiotics in kombucha. Either way, make sure you get your kombucha from a reputable source and drink it in moderation. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Deborah Heart and Lung Center. For innovative care, demand Deborah.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
When your dream is building a new home, we offer mortgage options designed with your convenience in mind, like combining your construction and permanent loan into just one closing, saving you time for the really fun stuff, like planning that housewarming party.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and only barely making minimum payments, know this. You may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $500 million of debt, and they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005. 800-910-4005.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
56, basically 57 minutes past the hour. Let me do sort of a preamble to the 9 o'clock hour. It's going to be wide open forum. Hope you'll check in at 609-407-1450. On air, we broke it. And I have to say, I could have broken this in the 7 o'clock hour. I've actually had this information since 7:42 a.m. this morning. I didn't see it. I had so many text messages, I literally didn't see it until I mentioned it during Chuck's program. But impeccable sources have confirmed to me that the FBI has begun to round up suspects in the federal investigation into public employees and healthcare and prescription fraud. The FBI roundups began in the 7 o'clock hour this morning. So it's developing, and we'll keep you posted. Again, I'm only as good as my sources, and if you knew the source, you would absolutely concur and feel comfortable reporting it generically. Notice I haven't said what cities, I haven't said any names or anything like that. I'm not comfortable doing that while I'm broadcasting this program live, and not able to just source this even more finite. But if you go to my Facebook page, that's the update. I'm going to continue to update that as the morning goes on, and we have many. I want to thank Barbara Joy, Gail, who else do we have? Neil, Fred, Megan, Margie, that's a different Margie, not my Margie, Sean, Laura, Marta, Michael, Mike, and it just keeps going. We have John. We have a number of comments, a number of likes on my Facebook post. So look for it there. We will continue to update that as we learn more. But look, if it wasn't today, it's going to be soon. Somebody earlier said they heard that roundups were going to happen today, and they didn't use the term roundup, but that they were going to start to arrest suspects and things. I hesitate ever putting something like that out because a grand jury is convened before any of that could happen. They have to then hand up charges. Then you get to the point where you're going and arresting people. Obviously, when you hear that they have subpoenaed information, keep in mind, even though you just heard for the first time in the past several hours that Atlantic City and that Ventnor, these are all cities that I knew and I have known were involved in this. Keep in mind, the Atlantic City subpoena from the FBI happened on June 5th. See you, Chuck Malamut. Have a great day. So it's July 18th. So it's not like you can say, well, hey, how are they arresting people today when the subpoenas just went out? No, they didn't. The subpoenas went out to Atlantic City over 6 weeks ago. Brief timeout. Fox News and Town Square Media News Network says so, and then we'll be right back, and I hope that you will jump in.
104.1 WPGG Atlantic City, WSJO 104.9 HD2 Egg Harbor City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Let Obamacare fail. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump tweeted the morning after the revised Senate plan to replace it lost the support of 2 more GOP senators. The president also wrote, "We were let down by a few Republicans and all of the Democrats." Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, now that Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has pulled the plug on the revised health care plan, Senate Republicans are talking about a repeal-only bill. Senator James Lankford says